Okay, I can do this. One of the most exciting things that's happening in guitar culture right now is that brands that are really important, really cool, have amazing features and designs, these brands are being resurrected. One of the brands that I feel like we have to talk about is D'Angelico. This is a brand that is iconically connected with jazz music, with New York, with Art Deco design. If you love modern brands like Duesenberg, if you love the really vibey old Epiphones, they're pulling cues from D'Angelico, and it is so cool that this is resurrected. This is a Premier Mini DC, and this video is sponsored by Sweetwater. They are dear friends of the channel. I buy lots of gear through them. They've been wonderful partners to my YouTube channel. And with that, they gave me this guitar and they are paying for this review, but they don't get to tell me what to say. That's part of our friendship. Any actual relationship, you don't get to control what the other person says. And so with that, everything you'll hear in this video is my experience, my take, my perspective on this guitar. And thankfully, I'm really careful. I don't bring things in that I don't like because I don't want to be put in that spot, but I really like this guitar. D'Angelico Premier Mini DC. Let's tear that apart just in linear fashion. D'Angelico, really cool, huge, deep roots in American jazz in New York. Very cool brand. Now, this guitar is made in Indonesia. It's a similar idea, but these guitars are made for middle price range. This guitar is $899. Very, very reasonable, very cool price on this guitar. Now, D'Angelico, like I said, they were jazz and they were Art Deco, and you can see that in the full design of this guitar. One of my favorite things are these Imperial style tuners. I love these. Guild has a lot of similar vibes, and if you know this channel, if you know me, I love Guild guitars. They're amazing. And they are, oh my gosh, I love them. And so one of my favorite things about them is these Imperial tuners. Now, they are certainly not for everyone, but they match the vibe of this whole guitar. Now, what is interesting with these and the fit and function, the functionality of this, I found that I was able to get a much finer tune because the tuning gears are so big. I was able to really lock in and go slowly and get exactly where I wanted to be in tune. There's also this giant headstock that is so cool, and it definitely is a statement piece. The neck is super dark ebony. Block inlays are always cool. The fit and the precision with which the fretwork has been done is shocking. It does not feel like an import guitar. It doesn't feel like all of those things that you've heard about, you know, just think about Epiphone dots from the 90s. But what I really like about this is that this feels like a really, really well-built guitar. Now, with that said, there's a scarf joint on the back of the neck. That's very normal. You would expect that. What's interesting is there's this dark spot in the finish, and I would have thought, because of the custom finish, normally there's a scarf joint right at the headstock, and that's why they have this dark streak here, is that they're able to kind of hide that scarf joint, but it's right here, kind of behind the second fret. One of the things down here I want to talk about, the humbuckers are really spanky, and they're really diverse sounding. I think if you're an acoustic guitar player, and you're trying to figure out which electric guitar would work well for you, semi-hollow electric guitars with humbuckers feel the most just across the bridge, you know? So I think if you're an acoustic player and you're trying to figure out which electric guitar to jump into, a Telecaster is bitey and bright and in your face. It might be kind of a jarring transition, but I think a semi-hollow that's warm and more bassy and is a little more strummy, this would work really well. Another thing that I really like about the premier kind of features of this guitar is that it has the small post Gibson style tune-o-matic bridge, which means if you were so inclined, you could retrofit, you could put American-made parts onto this guitar. If you wanted to change everything to nickel and make this guitar feel a little more relic-y, a little more old, you could. Normally, one of the biggest indicators for me on an import guitar, if I'm looking at a guitar with a stop tail and a tune-o-matic, I'm going to look here, and if there's a flat head screw in there, that pretty much always guarantees that that's an import guitar. But with this, it has the small posts. Now, it does make it a little more complicated if you need to raise the action or move the bridge around, but this is a premier level option. This is a really good thing. There's a 3-way switch, 2 volumes, 2 tones. There's a really cool kind of swoopy pick guard. I will say one thing that just in the fit and functionality of this guitar, this 3-way switch it's down low. It's tucked in, and so with the pick guard, I found myself like having to kind of swipe. And I'd have to like think and get my fingers in there to really grab the switch and move it, compared to, I mean, ideally I love Les Paul style guitars where I can just flip it up here and it's close to where my hand already is. But that's a tiny little detail. Now this guitar is, let's move to the next word. So we have a D'Angelico Premier Mini, and so the Mini means that this guitar is miniature, it's smaller. There is a full-size DC that would follow like a Gibson ES335 size guitar. Now this is a 339 shape, which means it's a lot smaller, it's a lot more comfortable, and this guitar, it lacks the giantness of big dot reissue kind of guitars, but this guitar has that warmth and woofiness and woody, a little more feedback. It doesn't feedback like obnoxiously, but it's more musical. You'll hear those resonant, you'll feel air start coming out of the sound hole when you hit these resonant notes. It's awesome. And like I said, this guitar is absolutely spanky in its tone. And for me, it just is incredibly playful and fun. And I find myself doing a lot of these like kind of tighter stops and plucks with like all 3 or 4 of my fingers. I'll do these like more arpeggiated things, not arpeggiated, more staccato things. I picked this guitar out using the Guitar Gallery, which is one of the absolute coolest features that Sweetwater offers. If you are curious about a guitar and you see, oh, they have 8 of them, you then get to compare and you get to say, so I got to look and pick this exact grain because I love that flamey maple, and this guitar just has it in droves. And I also picked it out because it has just really, I just like this, and I like that it feels like even when I'm buying something online, it feels like I'm actually getting to pick it out. I'm not just saying like, oh, I want one of those. No, I want that one. So the DC, that's the last part of this. DC is double cut. And so with this is a semi-hollow. It's not a full hollow. Full hollows are cool, but they're also a little unruly. You can't play that loud. And you heard with this, I got to play full tilt, full volume, as loud as I wanted, and it never disappointed. This guitar is light and comfortable and really playable. So with all of that said, I want to run this through a 3-question gear review. That's the tool, the metric framework by which I help people make informed consumer decisions on these guitars. So what is good about this thing? What's bad about this thing? And if you're in the market, should you buy this kind of guitar? So what is good about this guitar? It is incredibly cool, high fashion, art deco. And if you want a guitar that is exciting and loud, and I don't mean that just physically, I mean like just this guitar is a bit loud. And it's very cool, especially this headstock is so unique and such an eye catcher. So everything about this is ornate. And it feels like there's just lots of like filigree to this guitar. So what's good about this guitar for me, absolutely, is it's just style and aesthetic. It looks cool. Block inlays are freaking cool. Behind that, the next component that I think is really good about this guitar is the general playability. This guitar came from me. It's the end of November in 2021, and this guitar came to me just totally set up. It was still in tune, which is bonkers to me. It came from Fort Wayne, Indiana, in a truck, through Pennsylvania, into Maryland, into Virginia with me. It showed up still in tune. There are 2 guitars that came the same. You'll see there's a Gibson G45 that also came in the shipment from Sweetwater. And so anyway, what is good about this guitar? The quality, the fit, the features. It is a very, very well-built guitar. It does not feel like an import guitar. Now, the only thing, and let's move into what's bad about this guitar. The only thing for me that feels a little hokey on this guitar is just the finish. I mean, I don't love polyurethane finishes. They're very kind of plasticky. And so that's my only criticism of this guitar, is that this guitar, and listen, it is a complete silver lining, and this is completely anecdotal in my opinion. Polyurethane finishes look great forever, and that is a wonderful thing. That is a thing that we should have had from the beginning of guitars. Instead, we had nitro finishes that never look like they're new. They take like 8 minutes of playing before they start looking used, and so with that, we've been told, peer pressured into thinking that guitars that grow and old, that the finish wears out. Blah, blah, blah. So all I'm saying with this is that it's very shiny, very bright, very clean. And yeah, so with me, I prefer nickel hardware, but it's really hard to get nickel hardware on import guitars. But this thing is a thing. This is a jazz guitar through and through. And what I like is that it kind of lives in this place where it can do a lot. It's really diverse. So if you're imagining imagine on one spectrum. No, I will save that thought. If you want to hear my thought about how I compare guitars to one another, you need to buy my new course that is out. It should be out by the time this video comes out. It's called RIgh Guitars Faster. It will help you buy the right guitars, sell the wrong guitars, and build a meaningful guitar collection. And there is a tool that I use to help visualize where guitars belong in my collection and how to build out a collection that gets me ready for every musical environment. Anyway, check out the class. There's a link in the description down below. And but this guitar, do I have anything else bad to say about this guitar? Comes in a gig bag, doesn't come in a hard case. I'm losing that argument in my head about hard cases, because hard cases make guitars double in space when you take them out of their case. Because all of a sudden you have a guitar and then you have a case that's a little bigger than the guitar itself. And so then you have to store that thing and you have to manage that thing and you have to have that in the back of your mind, like, oh, where do I store the cases? And then usually that's one of the biggest frustration points for other people that live with guitar players, your wife, your kids, is that guitar cases are everywhere. So for me, having a gig bag that is small and packs away, and then when I need it is really comfortable and has backpack straps and storage, I can put my capo and my strap and all that stuff. So even then, it coming with a gig bag, not a case, is still a silver lining. I don't really have anything bad to say about this guitar other than just the preferential things. For me, I was a little concerned about how small it would be, but overall, it's incredibly comfortable and fun to play, and it definitely pushes me out into new places. This is a guitar that I wouldn't typically buy, and so for me, it's very cool, very spanky, very fun. So all of that, let's culminate these thoughts together. Should you buy it? If you're in the market for a semi-hollow guitar, if you're an acoustic guitar player that's trying to figure out how to move into electric guitars, I think that this kind of guitar would be very much in line with that. It would be a very good move because it's warm and it's playful and it's a little more strummy and it sounds a little more like an acoustic guitar. Just humbuckers in general are warmer and are more similar to what you're used to hearing with an acoustic guitar. Now, for the price, this guitar is a monster of a deal. For $899 and for a limited edition finish where you're only going to get the vintage finish, this vintage Sunburst from Sweetwater, I just think it's cool. I think that this guitar is absolutely, it's crazy. These guitars are on the quality of what my brain told me you could only expect from American-made guitars, like a Gibson Midtown, which used their $1,000. New, they were like $1,700-1,800. The 339s are expensive. I mean, this thing kills. It's awesome. So I think that this guitar, if you're in the market for a semi-hollow, a smaller guitar, even the regular DC, the bigger one, is still a monster of a guitar. So D'Angelico, and let's close this thought with the thought that I opened. There are these brands that have been resurrected, and some of them do justice, and some just take the name and are just selling you on nostalgia, and they're making a whole different thing. We'll talk about brands that I have spicy opinions about, but I think for this, I really like what they've done with D'Angelico. They've brought them back with dignity and honor, and they've respected kind of the legacy of this guitar. Now with that, I wish that there were some American-made options of the D'Angelicos. That would be really cool. I think that Heritage is a brand that's doing that as well. Heritage doesn't have imports, but I think if there was an option, kind of like how Guild is now doing, hey, we're doing import guitars to be affordable and to be under $1,000, I think those are wonderful. But I think that in my mind, I would love to have a D'Angelico because as someone, and a lot of players are this way, I'm really starting to rethink whether I want to give certain brands more money, and there are other brands that I really believe in and really like, and I would like to spend more money with them. So with Guild, how they offer their American-made guitars, that's killer. So anyway, all of that to say, really cool guitar. They've done a great job. They've honored D'Angelico really well. So thanks for watching this video. I'm Jeremy. I'm the Guitar Hunter. Make sure you're subscribed down below. Check out RIgh Guitars Faster. If you want to figure out how to buy the right guitars, sell the wrong guitars without shame or guilt, get the most money back out of them so that you can build a meaningful guitar collection that helps you fill the world with music and friendship, that is the thing. That is the best work I've ever been able to do. And anyway, so thanks so much to Sweetwater for this video, for this guitar. Check them out. There will be a link in the description down below for these. There are also a couple colors. The natural one, I was on the bubble between the natural and there's like a Pelham blue. They're all cool and they sound great. Super diverse, really great guitars. Thanks again. See you guys later. Bye.